I started looking at myself in my videos and I was like, oh my god, be conscious about it. I don't feel so good in the way that I look. I'm gonna work on it and I'm gonna start working out. Get your confidence back. You can be confident. You can still do this. Tab tak wo nahi hoga. And I started valuing those things a lot more.
Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome back to another episode of the NSJD show, Pakistan's first fitness and self-improvement podcast. Now this episode is a very special episode, as you can see कि मैंने शलवार कमीज पहने हुए हैं. तो पहली बात तो ये है कि गुज़श्ता ईद मुबारक to all of you guys. And since this is a special episode, I have a very special guest today. Why is she special? Because usually अब तक जो मेरे guests आ रहे हैं, they are mainly known for being in the fitness scene in one way or the other. But this person, her forte is a little different. So she is basically a serial entrepreneur, or as she likes to call herself, a third-time entrepreneur, first-time mom. But in my eyes, she is an influencer, one of the OGs. She is a business owner. She is a podcast host. She is a mother. And most recently, she has gotten into fitness. So I want to learn all about this. I want to learn her journey through the years, how she has experienced self-actualization, how she has constantly improved, and everything in between. So without further ado, our guest is Humna Raza.
Hi.
Hello Humna.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Eid Mubarak from me as well to everyone.
How are you feeling?
Good. A little
Good.
nervous. I mean, I'm used to being a host, not as much a guest. तो थोड़ा बहुत तो होता है.
Achha, really? Okay, that's okay. Now I feel I was a little nervous. कि ना maybe she's judging me कि अच्छा ऐसे तो नहीं host करते.
नहीं. बिल्कुल भी नहीं.
अच्छा, great. Okay, Humna. So let's start with a little bit of your background. That how was your? I usually don't ask this question, but with you I want to ask this because I want to try to connect the dots. कि ना how exactly you are where you are today, and I just want to learn. So why don't you tell us a bit about your childhood, what that was like? So you're from an army background, maybe a bit about that, maybe about how your life was like as a child.
Yeah, I think generally when I think about my childhood, it's a very I get a very positive feeling from it. I think I had a really good childhood, very wholesome, especially because again army background tha, so we were always living in small cantonments. It was very safe, so we used to spend a lot of time playing outdoors, lots of outdoor activities, lots of trips, lots of travel. So generally I feel like it was a lot of fun. When I think about my childhood, it was a lot of fun, and I also I know that a lot of people don't enjoy it, but I personally enjoyed moving cities all the time a lot. I don't know, I never really hated it, or maybe in hindsight I feel like I enjoyed it, but when I think about it now, I do think of it positively कि हाँ मज़ा आया, because we used to go to a new place every 2 years, so it was like new friends and new school and making more friends, and so it was exciting like that, and I think I was always अंदर से social, तो मुझे मज़ा आता था नए लोगों से मिलके और हर तरह के लोगों को डिस्कवर करके. I think one thing in my childhood was कि we did spend a lot of time away from my father, क्योंकि अबू जो है वो आर्मी में थे, तो कभी कभार he was posted in hard areas. So hard areas में families can't go. But हम लोग जो है इसलिए फिर हम लोग मेन सिटी में रहते थे और अबू जो है हार्ड एरियाज़ में पोस्ट होते. So we spent some time apart from him. But I think when I think about my childhood, a very core time of my childhood was कि अबू की posting कश्मीर में हुई थी. So we spent a lot of our time in Kashmir as well. So it was nice to live in the mountains, in the hills, not your typical city life. तो वो चीज़ मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा enjoy की.
कश्मीर में कहाँ थी? What was the city?
So it was Bagh. It's Bagh and Kale both. So we've lived in Kale and Bagh in Kashmir both. So मेरे अब्बू की जो यूनिट है वो वहाँ पोस्टेड थी, तो बहुत मज़ा आता था, बहुत ज़्यादा.
What was that like? या वहाँ पे सिग्नल वगैरह आ रहे होते थे या क्या ups and downs?
I think उस वक्त तो सिग्नल्स का क्या ही कॉन्सेप्ट था. We were really small. I think I was somewhere. I think I was not even 10. Or somewhere around 10, 12 इस तरह करके.
Right.
तो quite young. Not even 10 I think. तो बस बहुत मज़ा आता था. एंड देन उसके बाद हमारी ज़्यादातर जो है बिग सिटीज़ में था, लाहौर, इस्लामाबाद, क्वेटा, इस तरह. So
Right.
yeah.
And over there, like, did you have friends your age, or were you just enjoying being there?
We had a lot of friends our age as well, because
Okay.
बाकी आर्मी वाले भी होते थे और उनके बच्चे भी होते थे.
ठीक.
और वहाँ पानी में बस हम लोग खेलते रहते थे और वादियों में खेलते रहते थे. It was very dreamy.
Sahi.
Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense, because usually, like you said, na, jo people who are from an army background, yeah, currently are in that living situation, उनको ये होता है कि यार अब फिर move करना है, अब फिर नए लोग, क्या मुसीबत है, तो ये तो वो, but you looked at it differently in more of a positive sense.
Yeah, I think I liked it.
Yeah. And I think that translated into you becoming that positive person, and then that becoming a brand, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe it added.
अंदर एक था.
Yeah, I do think how it added to my personality was definitely that because I interacted with all kinds of people at a very young age, my bubble growing up wasn't very small. I would say कि अच्छा आर्मी बबल था, ये नहीं मैं डिनाई कर सकती कि आप छोटे शहरों में भी रह रहे हो तो आप अच्छे कैंटोनमेंट्स में रह रहे हो तो आपका एक्सपीरियंस बहुत पॉजिटिव होता है, जो भी हो. I can't deny that, but just that हम छोटे छोटे टाउन्स में रहते थे तो हम वहाँ के हर तरह के स्मॉल टाउन लोगों से भी हमने इंटरेक्ट किया हुआ है और बिग सिटी लोगों से, और हर जगह का कल्चर फ़र्क होता है और लोग जैसा क्वेटा का कल्चर बहुत डिफरेंट है पिंडी के कल्चर से, तो वो बहुत क्लोजली देखा. एंड स्पेशली बिकॉज माई पेरेंट्स दे डिडंट पुट अस इनटू APS, तो हम जाते नॉर्मल बाहर स्कूल में थे, बीकन हाउस जाते थे. सो वहाँ पे हमारे हर तरह के बच्चों के साथ इंटरेक्शन होता था, नॉट जस्ट आर्मी के बच्चे. सो आई थिंक उस वजह से आई हैव लर्न टू अंडरस्टैंड पीपल अ लॉट, ऑल्सो एम्पथाइज विद ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ पीपल, रियली नो कि अच्छा लोग किस किस तरह के और कैसे होते हैं.
Yeah, I think that's really important as a child, have that multifaceted exposure of interacting with different people. वरना अपने बबल में आप होते जब वो बबल burst होता है तो फिर आपको समझ नहीं आती क्या हुआ है मेरे साथ.
Yeah. And I also felt growing up that I was different in the sense that I never had that clique or group mentality कि ये तो मेरा ग्रुप है, ये मैं बस इस तरह के लोगों से दोस्ती करती हूँ, समझ आई. बट अ लॉट ऑफ द टाइम्स ग्रोइंग अप आई वाज पुल्ड इनटू सर्टेन ग्रुप्स एंड क्लीक्स कि तुम हमारी जैसी हो तो तुम हमारे साथ ही करो और तुम उससे ना बात करो. स्पेशली व्हेन जब मैं हाई स्कूल और टीनेज ईयर्स में आई और उस तरह, तब ये चीज़ मुझे थोड़ी सी बहुत शॉक की थी, बिकॉज इट वाज जस्ट लाइक दोस्ती तो हर तरह के लोगों से आपने करनी होती है. बट फॉर सम रीज़न ग्रोइंग अप आई वाज ऑलवेज दैट girl in my class who would befriend that one person who nobody was friends with. I don't know why. I have very vivid memories of being friends in every single class with that one child that people bullied or didn't want to be friends with.
And you were also friends with the bullies?
Yes.
What was that like?
I mean, they weren't bullies. वो बचपन में मतलब bullies ही होते हैं, आप हम आज उनको learn करते हैं bullies होते हैं, just mean kids or like जो मजाक उड़ाते हैं.
वो फिर क्या कहते थे कि हम ना इसकी साइड क्यों ले रही हो, इस तरह कहते थे?
I think I did have that sort of experience as well, but it's fascinating even to me of how much I didn't care, or maybe I did care, but I still never stopped being friends with, yeah.
That's I think that's a great lesson for everyone.
Yeah, and मैं इधर कोई अपनी उस तरह तारीफ नहीं कर रही, but this is something that fascinates me about me myself. Like I reflect on this now कि यार,
So why do you think you befriended people who were like bullied or like left alone? क्या होता था ज़हन में? Now that you think about it.
पता नहीं. That's why it still fascinates me कि मैं क्यों ऐसी थी मुझे नहीं पता. लेकिन बड़े होके I do think that I got into this pressure where like my groups or cliques जब थोड़े बड़े हो जाते हो, they didn't allow me to expand so much. I'm sure कि मेरे हाई स्कूल में जो लोग होंगे या वो कहते होंगे कि हमना तो बस उन्हीं में रहती थी और वो उस टाइप की थी या वो. But I don't think that at that point I was essentially being true to myself because I was never that person अंदर से. You आप असल में वो होते हो जो आप बचपन में होते हो, like what your inner child is who you really are, and then it's society and the things you hear and all those layers that sort of come up जिसके ऊपर आप behave कर रहे होते हो.
Yeah, very true.
So yeah.
And building on that question, sorry, not that question, that answer that you gave off, कि हमारी अंदर से हम एक ही होते हैं, उसके ऊपर से लेयर्स आती है बेस्ड ऑन द एक्सपीरियंसेस दैट वी गो थ्रू. So you went through a very traumatic experience as a child. I don't remember what your age was at the time, but so your father, he passed away while you were pretty young. How old were you?
I was 17 years old.
You were 17. तो A levels वगैरह, OA levels.
So I was O levels कि मैं last year में थी.
Okay. So at that moment, do you remember what you felt when you heard of this and एकदम से क्या हुआ था? क्योंकि I know that it was like a process. He had been sick for a while.
Yeah.
But as a child, when you got to know कि मेरे जो अब्बू हैं and जो मेरे ऊपर जो मेरे protector हैं, एकदम से he's gone. I want to like learn what your thought process was at that time, and then उसके बाद से what was your journey like?
I think because it's such a pivotal.
It changes you.
It permanently changes you. It permanently changes you. I think क्योंकि अब्बू को कैंसर था, वो तो हमें पता चल ही गया था कि he has stage 4 cancer. His chances of survival are like really low. But the thing with I guess you kind of always remain hopeful until it happens, because ये चीज़ें ऐसी हैं कि आप denial में ही रहते हैं.
Exactly.
कि ये नहीं हो सकता, ये नहीं होगा, which I guess to some level it's good because you keep praying and you keep praying कि अच्छा and I do believe in prayers, miracles do happen. So but somewhere down you do know कि अच्छा this is not looking good or whatever is happening. So and I guess with Abbu, because my relationship with my dad was like, your person at home, जिससे आपकी सबसे ज़्यादा दोस्ती होती है, सबसे ज़्यादा connection होता है. For me, that was my dad. Even though he was, very missing for a lot of our time, like I said, कि अब hard areas में posted थे, and कभी UN mission पे थे and stuff. But he was my person. So for me, I think losing Abbu was like, if there are teams at home, I've lost my team member. It was always my brother and my mother, and it was like me and my father.
Right.
So I guess, it was like that, and I just used to feel, I think I got very lonely because I used to feel like he was the one who understood me at home. So I think for me, it was the loss of somebody who really understood me. मतलब मेरे अब्बू को मेरी feelings की समझ आती थी without even me having to sort of.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, so he was that person.
Yeah, he was that person. और and actually it's not just that, but I think वो होता है ना कि आपको जो आपके feelings को validate करे, secure feel कराए. That was my father for me, who would always understand, okay, I get how you feel. फिर बहुत सारी छोटी छोटी चीज़ें, like when I would be studying for my exams, तो अब्बू मेरे साथ जाग रहे होते थे. Like he would रात को जब मैं जागती थी ना,
अच्छा,
तो अब्बू would just stay up just for like moral support. So which is why like even studying for me after his death was very hard.
Of course.
Because it was so like, oh, he's always there. So yeah, I guess I think I just kind of got very lonely after that. But I think that, and one thing I realized about, I guess, losing someone, especially from cancer, it's that it's really bad. I mean, obviously, losing someone, loss to loss hai, right? वो हमेशा ही बुरा होता है if it's your parent. But I think when you lose your parent from something like cancer, it's like the trauma is very long, because आपने सिर्फ loss से या उस moment of death से नहीं recover करना होता, जो कि तो हुई है, like in any other case of death. But उससे जो पहले का वक्त जो आपने देखा होता है अपने पेरेंट को इतना लंबा सफ़र करते हुए, और मतलब 4 months में he went from like this to this, and just knowing, in fact Noroze, just knowing every day, जब आपको डॉक्टर्स ने sort of जवाब दे दिया होता है ना, so just knowing every single day that this person might just die, like क्या पता अब्बू कल ना हो, अभी अगले 5 मिनट में ना हो, that is trauma. Living with that paranoia every day is trauma that takes really long to like recover from. So 4 months of that you have to recover from. And then, you know, in that time you also watch your mother do what she's doing, you know, and then the loss, and then obviously your family sort of grieving after that. So I just think it was a lot of trauma for a very long time. Yeah. So हाँ, फिर उसके बाद obviously life happened, another thing happened. I gave my O-levels के exams, and अब्बू मुझे कहते थे कि, you know, you're my A stars baby, because I was very intelligent. I was like growing up. Oh, one thing about me growing up, I was a full blown nerd. मतलब
अच्छा
इतनी बड़ी nerd आपने नहीं देखी होगी. So I was that child जिसकी like, you know, glasses or like pony or like क्या कहते हैं, सारे सब्जेक्ट्स में जो है हाईएस्ट मार्क्स होते थे. इवन सारे सेक्शंस में हाईएस्ट मार्क्स मेरे होते थे.
You were that.
I was like, you know, full marks wala bachcha. So very intelligent, academically. And khair to Abu used to say कि, you know, you're my A star baby. You know, levels में खैर फिर मेरे सारे A stars नहीं आए obviously उस time पे. But हाँ, मैंने वो दिया, and then A levels, and then uni, and yeah.
Life goes on, but does it really? That's my question.
Yeah, and no, and the weird part is, Noroze, and I think you can relate to this because you lost your father too. It's like your whole world changes, but life goes on, and you're just like, wait, सब कुछ चल रहा है. मतलब I lost my father on Friday. On Monday I'm in school, and it's just like, oh, you have to live your life now. It doesn't stop. Like, time doesn't stop. And internally you have changed. Your world is upside down, but the world outside, it's the same.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to reconcile with that sort of shift that comes in your reality of feeling like a completely different person on the inside, and your external factors are the same, and your perception of everything has suddenly changed.
Exactly.
Of life. Yeah.
But you are expected to act the same way as before. After some time, शुरू में होता है, everyone is there for you, and they're like, हाँ ये वो, and then after some time they forget.
Yeah, they forget. Yeah.
They forget. You don't forget.
You don't forget.
And you can't keep reminding them. You have to move with the pace of the world, and काफ़ी मुश्किल हो जाता है बीच में ना. मेरे साथ जब when I lost my father, so one or two people, they came up to me and they told me theoretically कि ना ये stages of grief होते हैं, you will pass through that. कुछ ऐसा नहीं था मेरा केस में ना. तो it was like, कौन से स्टेजेस होते हैं, डिनाइल एंड पता नहीं, एंड में एक्सेप्टेंस है, बीच में कोई वो बार्गेनिंग है. मेरा हर दिन कुछ मतलब इस तरह होता है ना कि पहले 1 है, फिर 2 है, फिर 3 है. मेरा नहीं, मेरा एक दिन 1 है, अगले दिन 4 है, एक्सेप्टेड है, उससे अगले दिन फिर 1 है.
It's healing is like up and down.
Some days you wake up and you're like okay, I accept, and ये ऊपर वाले की मर्जी है, एंड ठीक है, अब मैं दुआ कर सकते हैं और क्या कर सकते हैं. The next day you wake up and you're like, WTF, नहीं, अब मैं नहीं मानता, ये क्या मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ है. तो it was like very up and down, और मुझे तो समझ नहीं आती थी कि one day I wake up and thinking कि अच्छा मैं तो बहुत बेहतर हो गया था आज, why am I feeling like shit. अब क्या करना है. But you just have to wake up and get up and do whatever is required of you.
Do stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever really think you actually got over this?
Yeah. I think पता है क्या, हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा ना अपने गेट ओवर को इस चीज़ से शायद रिलेट करते हैं, ऑफ हाउ मच वी मिस दैट पर्सन. सो इन द स्टार्ट यू ऑब्वियसली मिस दैट पर्सन अ लॉट. आपको हर चीज़ में उनकी याद आती है, और आपको बहुत मेमोरीज आती हैं, और आपको होता है बस एक दफ़ा आवाज़ सुन लें, और एक दफ़ा you know you're just dying for that. And that over time you stop thinking so much about that person. Right, like very consciously, life goes on. Obviously it takes, I think even that takes a few years, but आपके हर walking talking moment में नहीं वो रहता जैसे start में होता है. But I think the hurt, और एक heartbreak होता है ना, I mean the fact that it's still making me cry a little.
Exactly, that pretty much answers the question. And sometimes, you feel like you said ना कि हर मोमेंट पे आपको उनकी याद नहीं आती, but then at sometimes you feel कि क्यों नहीं याद आ रही मुझे, and you guilt trip yourself कि ना पहले तो मुझे याद आते थे, अब क्यों नहीं याद आ रही, क्या मैं like बहुत ही ज़्यादा I've gotten over someone like that.
Like how can I get over this loss? But I don't think like missing is a thing, right? It's a trauma, it's a loss. I think उसमें इतनी layers हैं कि missing barely defines the heartbreak. There's so much more. I think it's so, like I said, it's such a pivotal moment. आपके actually बहुत ज़्यादा actions and everything that you're doing is very much defined by this sort of experience.
Yep.
You know, and how you continue to live your life. So I think acceptance आ जाती है, आ गई है. इससे ज़्यादा acceptance मुझे नहीं लगता मुझे आ सकती है. And I feel like obviously I've healed a lot massively, but there are moments when I find it hard. Yeah. So I think it's still up and down.
हाँ, maybe उतना ज़्यादा नहीं, लेकिन वो है. कुछ मोमेंट आते हैं जिसमें you're like back to वो वाली फीलिंग थोड़ी सी आती है वापस आप में. तो I agree. But how do you feel it has changed you in your personal development? क्योंकि इसके बाद obviously you whether we मतलब कि whether we realize it or not, I think we do come out stronger. In many different aspects.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did it affect you in an age in which you were just in your late teens, और उसके बाद I believe 20 के बाद ज़्यादा exposure होता है हमें life में in different things and all. So how do you think this built on your personality, having to deal with such a big loss and trauma?
Yeah, I think the most obvious and obviously like I think it really matures you. आप बहुत ज़्यादा mature हो जाते हो in your way of thinking as compared to the people around you. So many things जो मुझे इस तरह feel होता था compared to my peers was that small things, like I think I just became a lot more grateful very subconsciously, not even realizing कि अच्छा मैं हो गई थी. ये तो चीज़ें मैंने बड़े होकर जब रिफ्लेक्ट किया और वो किया तो I know this about myself. ज़ाहिर है बड़े हो तो आपको सेल्फ अवेयर 17-18 में तो आपकी लीस्ट लेवल ऑफ सेल्फ अवेयरनेस होती है, just like living, you know. Especially A levels वाले टाइम पे. But I think that I was I became very patient. I became very sort of mature, very sensible, and also kind of like छोटी छोटी चीज़ें जिससे मेरे आगे पीछे लोग you know they were losing their minds or getting annoyed or irritated या उनको छोटी छोटी चीज़ों से फ़र्क पड़ता था. I was unfazed because you know आपने इतनी बड़ी चीज़ देख ली होती है, आपको छोटी छोटी चीज़ों से ना फ़र्क पड़ता है, आपके अंदर एक sense of humility, sense of gratitude आ जाता है. At least that's what happened with me. I'm not sure if that's how everybody eventually responds because some people have really bad responses to these things in the sense that they go in a completely different direction. But for me, I think ठहराव सा आ गया मेरे अंदर. I don't think there's a better word for that. I mean, I'm not saying कोई amazing level of ठहराव, but definitely more than what I saw around me of people my age. So yeah, and I guess this this kind of, I think, you know, when you're in my case when my father died, so like जो चीज़ें उन्होंने मुझे सिखाई थी या जो बताई थी ना उनकी वैल्यू बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई. So वो जो मुझे डेली लाइफ के लेसन्स इम्पार्ट करते थे या वैल्यूज़ इम्पार्ट करते थे, I guess in a way I started living by them more. And I started valuing those things a lot more. And I think that was a really good thing for me because my father, at least in me, he taught me a lot about gratitude and empathy and looking at the bright side and being good to people, you know. Like my father was actually very क्या कहते हैं, very invested in my friendships also. So I used to tell him a lot about my friends. कि अच्छा मेरी इसके साथ ये मसला हो रहा है या ये मेरी दोस्त ऐसी है, you know. So he would always help me navigate in those situations as well. Tell me, oh बचपन में मेरा एक ऐसा दोस्त था तो वो भी ऐसा था तो मैंने यूँ किया या ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए. I distinctly remember, अब मैं उस स्टोरी में तो नहीं जाऊँगी, थोड़ी लंबी है, but I distinctly remember him sharing a story about one of his friends and what he did and how he regretted being that person in that friendship, you know. So he taught me all of these lessons that I used to hear, but after his death they just मेरे दिमाग में आती थी ये चीज़ें. So I guess his lessons, they became a lot more valuable, and I started living by a lot of those things, at least for a very long time.
That's interesting, and I think there's also this other factor that, you know, you see a single parent, you see your mother after the death, and उन पे कितना effect हो रहा है, and how she's trying to be strong, and I think that also has an effect on you. Like on me, when I see my mother, मतलब छोटी छोटी चीज़ें कि हाथ से कुछ गिर गया, ठीक है, ये पहले नहीं होता था, ठीक है, और कोई चीज़ जो वो मुझे बताती थी कि अभी भी अगर वो देख रही हैं तो जब मैं इस तरह हाथ आगे कर रहा हूँ खाना लेने के लिए, मुझे कहती थी तुम्हारा ये जा रहा है सालन में जा रहा है, देखो. अब मैं उन्हें बता रहा हूँ कि अपना वो देखे सालन में जा रहे हैं आपकी ना. बट ये मैं जब सोचता हूँ ये चीज़ें पहले नहीं होती थी, मे बी मैं ज़्यादा सोच रहा हूँ, लेकिन इस तरह की चीज़ें ना, तो देन यू रियलाइज़ कि अच्छा ठीक है, द वे यूर फीलिंग, येस, बट इट्स नाउ टाइम फॉर यू टू स्टेप अप.
Yeah, definitely the level of responsibility. But I think, Noroze, in my case, because I had an older brother who was there, तो मैंने वो responsibility वाली चीज़ इतनी ज़्यादा feel नहीं की, जिसमें I feel like my brother really took that thing, you know, and I think I was kind of protected by that responsibility, you know. मतलब for me, I think when I talk about how it impacted, you know, मेरी अम्मी वाली चीज़, जो अम्मी वाली चीज़ होती है, उसमें है कि I think I learned a lot from my mother in her strength, and you know, everything that she did after my father died, and how she built everything, her business, and supported us and did everything. I think that really has contributed to my personality today and who I am, because, you know, like you know, how as a woman you should be able to do this and this and this, and be financially independent, and know how to do this and know how to, because anything can happen, क्योंकि हमारी तो family में हो गया, right? And Rose, like my mom, she was ready for this world, and you know, like it's just insane. Like when I look back, it's just insane how it all happened, because it's like my father literally prepared her for this day. Obviously he didn't know, nobody knew, but it's just when you look in hindsight, it's like Allah Mia did it, you know, the way that he included her in all kinds of like investments and properties, and you know, involved her in that, basically made her sort of empowered in that area. Like उनको वो हर जगह लेके जाते थे, हर जगह सिखाते थे, वो खुद भी करती थी. Like she used to do everything, even when my father was around. Like he taught her how to do everything. Then, you know, अम्मी ने masters किया in education, and my father supported her a lot throughout. कि वो उनकी assignments भी उनके साथ करते थे, ये वो करते थे, and everything. Like he was like her pillar, especially during that masters वाला time. You know, तो वो भी अम्मी का फिर बाद में गोल्ड मेडल आया था. अच्छा, हाँ. ये मुझे नहीं पता था. अम्मी का गोल्ड मेडल आया था, एंड उनकी जो कॉन्वोकेशन थी वो अब्बू की डेथ के बाद हुई थी. So yeah, that was very sad for her, because you know, it was Abu's win as well, because of everything that, you know, he helped her with. But उसमें, and I think that is something that I saw in my dad with my mother. Growing up, is how he had her be so empowered, and which is why when he died, she knew she wasn't like that bichari aurat who didn't know what to do with her life now, or the world sort of like trampling over her. She, you know, she did it. She did everything. So yeah, I can't even imagine being a single mom, having 3 kids, एक बहुत छोटी ऊपर से, what that was like for her. Yeah.
That's pretty empowering, pretty motivational.
Yeah, and I think that subconsciously I have like absorbed that a lot.
Absorbed what?
Her strength.
अच्छा.
And everything that she did, कि अच्छा ऐसे करते हैं. Like आपके parents आपके role models ही होते हैं ना. आप जब उनको देखते हो करते हुए, तो आप सीखते हो कि अच्छा, you know.
Yeah. So like you're a serial entrepreneur, you're third time entrepreneur. So she is also like invested in different businesses and all that. So maybe that is coming from there.
Yeah, she's a businesswoman, very financially independent. You know, invests here and there. So she's
Sahi. So okay, let's switch gears a bit. Since we talked about entrepreneurship and all. So all of this started, I believe it was one day. In which you thought कि okay, I'm going to switch on a camera और मैं कैमरे के आगे बोलूँगी, right? तो वो कौन सा दिन था, ये कैसे हुआ और ये like क्यों हुआ? How did that start?
क्यों हुआ? ये इसलिए हुआ कि उस टाइम पर फेसबुक का ऐसा टाइम था इंटरनेट पे कि सब लोग ना वो बड़ा कीबोर्ड वॉरियर्स वाला टाइम शुरू हो गया था उस वक्त फेसबुक पे कि सब लोग बहुत लड़ते थे फेसबुक पे किसी ना किसी टॉपिक पे. भाई जी सब लड़ रहे हैं कमेंट्स में किसी ने ओपिनियन पास किया हुआ और नीचे अंदर सब लड़ रहे हैं.
अभी भी लड़ते हैं,
अभी भी लड़ते हैं, बट दैट वाज लाइक द स्टार्ट ऑफ इट, राइट? या और बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा था और बहुत ज़्यादा होने लग गया था. एंड आई रिमेंबर कि उस वक्त एंड ऑब्वियसली इवन टुडे बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्कशन एट दैट टाइम वाज अराउंड लाइक पॉलिटिक्स एंड गवर्नमेंट एंड यू नो इस तरह के इश्यूज़ एंड स्टफ. और जो चीज़ मुझे उससे बॉदर करती थी वो ये थी कि बिकॉज आई हैव लाइक अ वेरी सूफी हार्ट, सो आई एम ऑल अबाउट यू नो व्हाट यू डू इन योर लिटिल लाइफ एंड योर कैपेसिटी, राइट? तो मुझे होता था कि यार क्या सीन है, मतलब सब लोग जो है ना इधर बैठ के इसको गालियाँ और उसको गालियाँ दे रहे हैं, लेकिन लोग यही नहीं देखते कि वो खुद क्या कर रहे हैं अपने लाइफ में, राइट? लाइक बी द चेंज यू वांट टू सी वाज समथिंग दैट आई यूज्ड टू थिंक अबाउट अ लॉट. अच्छा यार आपने इस दुनिया को बदलना है तो इस स्क्रीन पे बैठ के तो नहीं कुछ हो रहा, लाइक लिख के एक दूसरे से लड़ के. Why isn't anybody talking about what we can do in our capacity? So that was the first thought. Why doesn't anybody talk about what we can do in our capacity to just be better, right? I think it was a very naive thought, but that was a thought. So the idea was then my husband said कि oh, why don't you do it? If you're saying why doesn't anybody do it, तो why don't you do it? तो फिर मैंने मुज़म्मिल को कहा मैं तो नहीं कर सकती, like I'm not like a digital social media kind of person. And he said नहीं you can do it. So he pushed me a lot and I realized कि अच्छा I have that privilege in the sense कि my husband doesn't mind me appearing on social media. And there's so many girls out there, they don't have that. मैं एक चीज़ को सोच रही हूँ, you know, मैं भी बड़े मज़े से बैठ के कह सकती हूँ लोग इसके बारे में बात क्यों नहीं कर रहे, तो भाई खुद कर लो वाली चीज़ है, right? It's not like your parents are stopping you, your brother is stopping you, your husband is stopping you, तो तुम कर लो. And I was like हाँ, I think in a way I felt like oh, if I have the perfect conditions and I feel strongly about this, maybe it's my responsibility. So I literally just picked up my phone camera. I used to love making Snapchat stories. तो मैंने Snapchat पे start किया था ये.
Okay, so when was this? 2014?
Yeah.
Okay.
So मैंने 2014 towards the end. So मैं बड़ी छोटी छोटी simple things के बारे में बात करती थी कि oh, you know, it was called positive vibes only, and the hashtag I went by was small things that matter. So I used to talk about very small daily life things that we can do to be better humans. So वो ज़ाहिर है for that at that time for the internet that was a breath of fresh air because nobody was doing that. Like you know like you can just tune into this girl who was talking about oh you know how we can just be better people, or if somebody makes you feel like this then you should do this, you know ये वाली चीज़, or if you're going through like a troubling time then maybe try this, you know. And I always had like I've always been very spiritual in the sense that I've always had like I have a huge faith in God and I believe in miracles and everything. So it was all about you know have faith. It was just this very motivational, positive place to be at. So yeah.
And इसमें ना Snapchat में I think उस टाइम पे ये होता था कि बस एक स्नैप ये लगा ली, उधर गए ये फ़ोन क्या नाम है खाने की लगा ली, इधर गए रेस्टोरेंट की लगा ली. So I think someone using the front cam not just for selfies but for talking, वो एक नई चीज़ थी कि अच्छा ये कोई बात कर रही है, वो भी पॉजिटिव बातें कर रही हैं, ये क्या चक्कर है.
Yeah, so I was literally talking to like the phone and the people, random people, and people liked it a lot. तो वो फटती गई चीज़ फट गई बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स आया, और because it was something that I was so passionate about and I had no idea that so many years later today it would turn into my career. तो जाहिर है उस वक्त every single tiny comment used to mean a lot to me, क्योंकि मुझे कहता था you changed my life, you changed my perspective. तो मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी बात थी and it just kept me going and
So ये Snapchat पे कमेंट्स आते थे, चैट पे लिखते थे?
पहले Snapchat पे था, मैंने अपना Snapchat ओपन किया, फिर मैंने अपना Instagram ओपन किया, फिर मैं YouTube पे भी गई. Yeah, started with Snapchat, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Snapchat में how did people grow back then in Snapchat? कैसे discover होते थे? Do you remember?
So मैंने start में वो Insta पे ही अपना Snap share किया था.
अच्छा, ठीक है.
Insta में पे मैंने Snap share किया और मैंने जो है वो उस पे आ जाते थे लोग और फिर मैं वहाँ पे करती थी. उस वक्त मैं Instagram पे एक तो स्टोरी सी ही नहीं, वीडियोस भी नहीं थी ना, सिर्फ फोटो थी.
Instagram OG.
Yeah, so I used to do it over on Snapchat, and then eventually I moved to Insta, and then people became interested in a lot of other things. So like my lifestyle, how I live my life, how I do things, how I study, the clothes I wear, the things I do started growing. Wasn't a thing. Didn't know it was called being a blogger. Didn't know it was called being an influencer. In fact, it was like मैं आज भी कहती हूँ, I walked so the girls could run, and I have and I take pride and a lot of, actually I'm very grateful for that, alhamdulillah, क्योंकि मेरे पास वो privilege थी, and privilege होने का मतलब ये होता है कि you utilize it for others, right? If you have a certain power or a privilege, you use it to help others or help others grow, and I'm very proud and grateful that I did that. उस वक्त मुझे शर्म बहुत आती थी. A lot of people judged me. A lot of people ताने मारते थे लोग कि तुम क्या कर रही हो, लोग करते हैं इस तरह, Noroze, as well, right? लोगों को लगता है शुगल बकवास, but it was something that I took so seriously, it mattered to me, the fact कि एक लड़की को मैंने बदल दिया और उसको ये सिखा दिया and stuff. So मुझे याद है मैंने अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी के कोर्टयार्ड में जाना छोड़ दिया था, बिकॉज मैं यूनिवर्सिटी कोर्टयार्ड में जाती थी ना, तो सब लोग मुझे देखते थे कि ओ ये देखो, लाइक ये क्या कर रही है एंड स्टफ.
वहाँ पे यूज्ड टू मेक वीडियोस के वैसे
ही ना कि बात फैल गई ना कि ये इस तरह करती है. एंड ऑल्सो लाइक आई रिमेंबर पीपल टेलिंग मी, ओ माय गॉड तुमने प्रोफाइल जो है वो इंस्टाग्राम की प्रोफाइल पर्सनल से पब्लिक कर दी है, तुम्हें क्रीप्स से डर नहीं लगता, तुम्हें वियर्ड आउट नहीं होता कि तुम्हें रैंडम लड़के फॉलो कर रहे हैं एंड स्टफ. मतलब आई एम नॉट doing some kind, like, see, it's because people tend to have this mentality, right? उस वक्त तो लोगों के उससे थोड़ा सा पहले तो ये होता था ना कि you can't even put up your own picture, लोग वो princess और right, because identity was everything. अगर किसी लड़के को पता चल गया आपका नाम क्या है और आपकी तस्वीर क्या है, तो it was a very big thing at the time. And so for me it was a very very bold move, जो कि लोगों को अब नहीं समझ आती, because now you have an influx of influencers and content creators, but at the time it was a very bold move to turn my account to public. And there were a couple of people who were doing that, but I was the first one to address people with my thoughts. So it wasn't just me putting my face out there publicly, but also as a girl, very bravely and vulnerably sharing my thoughts. So उस वक्त तो ये वाला concept नहीं था when I started doing it publicly.
Exactly.
फिर वो मैंने किया, and I'm really glad आज वो एक normalized चीज़ है, and people have realized कि भाई so many women have come so far and have actually become financially independent through the same, and there isn't anybody who for one way or another now needs a public profile. So I consider that a very big win in my life, whether somebody else acknowledges that or not, but there are very few things जिनको मैं देखती हूँ, हाँ यार ये सही चीज़ की थी हमने. So yeah, I think that disrupted the space basically. Yes, for women, Noroze. For women, yeah. Especially.
And so the people, if I talk about boys, why they used to follow a public girl, कि हाँ इसकी तस्वीरें अच्छी है, प्यारी लग रही है, let's follow her. Caption पता नहीं, मैं तो caption नहीं देखता, मैं तो बस ना तस्वीरें वगैरह देख रहा हूँ. तो I think you coming and interacting with the audience, उससे you build the right audience to listen to you. Exactly. And not just follow you for the sake of कि हाँ लड़कियाँ follow कर लेते हैं.
You build the audience, right? I knew मेरी लोगों ने expect किया कि मैंने अपनी profile public कर लिया है तो ना मुझे तो line से लड़के follow करेंगे और वो बस ये देखेंगे कि अच्छा ये कैसी लग रही है, right? And whatever, but for me, it was my audience from the start was just girls and girls and girls. Obviously, there were some boys as well, but even those boys were following me for what? Because I used to come and share my thoughts. So I built that audience from the start organically. Like, आप अपनी audience वही build करते हो जो आप build करना चाहते हो.
Yeah.
Right? If you give them what they want, then they come, right? So you're right, yeah.
You can't just build an audience based on something else and then अच्छा अब audience आ गई है, अब मैं बातें करती हूँ तो वो तो फिर fizzle out हो जाएगी.
Yeah, because they leave because that's not what they came for.
Yeah.
So even that's a big win for me, that I actually gained an audience for what I put out there, like my thoughts and everything. Like people actually responded to that. Yeah.
What was that first moment in which someone messaged you and said something like कि आपकी वजह से मेरी लाइफ में ये हो गया, thank you so much? You must remember पहले स्टार्ट के कुछ एक दो
या मुझे उनके वो यूजर नेम्स भी याद हैं.
अच्छा.
And it's so interesting that some of those people, like, you know, they're still there.
Acha, they're still
still there. They're still like
Wow.
following me, you know. In fact, some very famous people at that time who were not famous at all were my followers. I don't want to name them.
Of
but
course, yeah.
So they were my followers and my fans. Well, like baat hai, they don't acknowledge that anymore. But that's why I don't want to name them. But they were there.
Right,
so
right.
yeah, and khair, wo mujhe messages, like I just remember most of them, the ones that really impacted me were the ones कि अच्छा क्या कोई रियल लाइफ इंसिडेंट हुआ हो जिसमें यू नो दे उनकी कोई क्या कहते हैं, कोई रिलेशनशिप में कहीं इम्प्रूवमेंट आ गई, कोई दोस्ती कोई फिक्स हो गई, कोई उन्होंने बेहतर अपने आप को करना शुरू कर दिया. सो देयर वर थिंग्स लाइक दैट ऑन हाउ आई चेंज देयर लाइफ. एंड अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल एक्चुअली I don't know, but I always had this kind of impact and influence on people where they started to think about their life in a better way. So that's why it was called Positive Vibes Only, because it was this continuous reinforcement of, you know, taking the positive spin on things.
Yeah. How do you do that? I can't do that. I'm a very negative person. मैं बहुत skeptical. मुझे कोई आके कुछ ये एक situation बताए ना, मैं उसमें से negatives निकालूंगा और सोचूंगा कि ये भी गलत हो सकता है, ये भी गलत हो सकता है. And that, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, no, but also, yeah, of course. I mean, being delusionally positive is also not a very good thing. I think it's... So a lot of people think, oh, being positive just means kind of like being happy all the time. Of course, that's not what it means. It's just that it's having that sort of realization that being inside like I clearly remember कि my thoughts around positive vibes only or positive thoughts was उसका core ये था कि oh, you know, even if you're like sad or even if you're going through something, it's okay and you will come out of it. That's all you have to remember. Right. That this is going to end, right? But you have to focus on that end that you're going to eventually have. So it was very basic. It was a lot around like faith. It was a lot around, so you can say I was that friend that people didn't find, right?
Yeah.
So that you used to tune in and who would tell them that, you know, like things are going to be fine, think about it like this, thinking about it like that, and that sort of like helped them. And it was not one-on-one, right? So it's not like मैं बैठ के किसी की therapy कर रही थी. It was very generic. But yeah, the thing is that I have sort of learned in life that negativity na up until a certain point will not help you. So by positivity I mean a problem solving approach. This is positivity basically means that this situation sucks, acknowledging and accepting that, but it can be fixed. How to do that? But if you're like, oh, this situation sucks, everything sucks. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So positivity basically means this can be fixed in the most simplest of terms. So it's having that hope and that faith कि अच्छा यार ये इसको resolve करना हो जाएगा, और अगर नहीं भी हुआ तो acceptance.
Yeah. वही है ना, accepting the things that you cannot control.
Yes. I live by that. Try to live by that. Okay, accept the things that you can't control and fix the things that you can control or work on them.
I think if we sit down किसी मुसीबत में हम फंसे हैं, हम पहले बैठ के अपने आप से पूछें कि क्या मैं इसको कंट्रोल कर सकता हूँ कि नहीं, and then we try to solve it, तो काफ़ी मसले हल हो जाएं. And वही बात है कि sometimes we're not, हार मानने का दिल नहीं होता है ना कि नहीं हम इसको कुछ कर सकते हैं कंट्रोल, हम इसको कुछ चेंज कर सकते हैं, कुछ टाइम अपना वेस्ट करते हैं, दिमाग अपना ख़राब करते हैं, देन रियलाइज़ कि अच्छा यार ये तो ऐसे ही है. तो व्हाट वी कैन डू इज़ हाउ वी रिएक्ट टू द सिचुएशन,
एंड आगे कैसे बढ़ना है. सिचुएशन. एंड इन नो वे डिड दैट एवर मीन, जो कि बाद में अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल सेड कि ओ ये तो बहुत टॉक्सिक पॉजिटिव है और ये वो. इन नो वे डिड एवर मीन दैट यू डोंट एक्नॉलेज द सिचुएशन और यू डोंट एक्नॉलेज योर नेगेटिव इमोशंस. इन फैक्ट अ लॉट ऑफ माई कॉन्टेंट एट दैट टाइम वाज about the first time somebody was addressing negative emotions online कि अच्छा एंजाइटी होती है और ये चीज़ें होती हैं, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
तो इसमें you mentioned कि some people said कि ये toxic positivity है, and it's mind boggling कि एक शख्स है जो कि आके बात करिए अबाउट बीइंग पॉजिटिव और कोशिश करिए अच्छी बात करे, उसमें से भी आप आके कोई ना कोई कीड़ा निकाल के आप उसको टर्न अराउंड करके कह रहे कि ये गलत काम कर रही है. तो आई वांट टू आस्क यू कि हाउ डू यू डील विद दीज ट्रोल्स एंड दीज पीपल हु आर एक मतलब कहीं की बात कहीं से आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट जोड़ के एक कंक्लूजन बना दीजिए, एक्चुअली हमना रज़ा तो ऐसी है, आप लोगों को तो आप तो गलत समझते हैं. हाउ डू यू डील विद दोज पीपल?
यार नरोज, इट्स एक्चुअली वेरी हार्ड बिकॉज जो आपका डेली का जो एक रैंडम हेट होता है ना कि यार यू आर अनोइंग और यू आर अगली और यू आर फैट और वो, इट डजंट अफेक्ट यू दैट मच, बट व्हाट अफेक्ट्स यू इज व्हेन पीपल मेक यू लुक लाइक यू आर अ फ्रॉड.
All of your hard work is just
or that you are fake, or that whatever you're doing it for the clout, or you're doing it because पैसे मिलते हैं या इस तरह, like आपकी पूरी जो आपको मिसअंडरस्टैंड करते हैं और करवाते हैं, आपकी एक जेन्युइन जो आपकी एक ऑब्जेक्टिव थी उसको डाउट करते हैं. वो हार्ट ब्रेकिंग होती है, वो एक्चुअली सोल ब्रेकिंग होती है, क्योंकि उसमें फिर होता है यू गेट वेरी डिस्करेज्ड फ्रॉम डूइंग व्हाट you were doing because you suddenly go back into this shell and you're like, oh अच्छा लोगों को ये लगता है मेरे बारे में. No, that's not what I do. This is not what I'm doing. And actually what it essentially does is, Noroze, that it destroys your relationship with your work. So what you set out to do and what you're doing, आपका अपना relationship उस चीज़ के साथ damage हो जाता है. It's like it's tainted. It's like, do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's not just कि oh somebody said something and it hurt you, because that's not true. It's basically क्या उसे कहते हैं slandering, आपके बारे में. But it doesn't just end there. So people don't realize the repercussion it actually has in how it affects the nature of your work and how it makes it very difficult for you to continue doing that work, because you're just like, it's tainted now, But I think I've come to this realization, and like I've been through this, so I'm saying this, but now and you tend to focus on that, कि जो लोग ये कह रहे थे, again focus on that negative thing, and it becomes very hard to get those voices out of your head, because they start becoming your own. Right?
हाँ, मेरे ज़हन में ये नेक्स्ट सवाल आ रहा था कि ऐसा कोई पॉइंट है जिसमें your self-esteem is so low because of what people are saying, कि you start to think कि यार maybe वो सही कह रहे हैं, maybe वाकई शायद पॉइंट है उसका. ऐसा कोई पॉइंट तो नहीं है?
I think ये नहीं लगता कि for me at least I didn't feel like कि वो सही कह रहे हैं, because I knew what I was doing. But it becomes your own voice in the sense that when you are then doing it, you're like, oh अब वो ये सोचेंगे. समझाई?
You're self-doubting yourself at every single move.
At every step. And then it ruins everything, because everything that you were doing is you can't do it anymore. And the worst part is, Noroze, not even that. The worst part is that there were tens and thousands of people who were actually very much positively impacted by your work. And because of those few people who decide to make you feel bad, you are not able to give those people who actually cared and loved the thing genuinely anymore, because it's so hard now. So yeah, like I have definitely been there at my lowest, level of self-esteem and complete lack of confidence, where I just didn't know how to. So many years सोशल मीडिया पे आके कैमरे में आके बोलना होता ही नहीं था, नोरोज. लाइक कैमरा ही नहीं खोला जाता था. अच्छा. बोला ही नहीं जाता था.
Was this during COVID?
This was during COVID. So it was already a mental health crisis, and then COVID में इस तरह हुआ, and then a lot of other things. I think the reason why it also happened during that time was because everybody was mentally like not normal, and then the thing is कि नोरोज जब आप already you're not mentally doing well ना, तो आपको ये चीज़ें ज़्यादा affect करती हैं. And I think अगर आप बहुत सिक्योर प्लेस में होते हो तो फिर आपको ये चीज़ें कम अफेक्ट करती हैं. सो इट्स अबाउट हाउ इनसिक्योर यू ऑलरेडी आर. एंड आई वॉज नॉट इनसिक्योर in this particular space, but generally I was not mentally doing so well, क्योंकि personal life में कुछ चीज़ें सही नहीं जा रही थी उस वक्त, राइट? तो फिर आप किसी भी चीज़ से ट्रिगर हो जाते हो. सो इट्स मोर लाइक द वन थिंग दैट्स एक्चुअली वर्किंग आउट फॉर यू, जब उस पर भी मसला होना शुरू हो जाता है ना, देन यू जस्ट start losing your mind. So I think वो personal life में भी इतनी सारी चीज़ें चल रही थी and all of this happened, so I guess that led to me completely losing my, like, going through all that hate and everything, completely losing my, I guess, confidence and my confidence in my work. But now when I look back, I feel like, no, I should always focus on the people who have loved and supported me and keep creating and keep doing it for them. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, because kisi aur ki people don't know who I am, no matter how much they think they know who I am. And there will always be people who will perceive me differently. Like a lot of people maybe who will be listening to this podcast will be like, bakwas kar rahi hai. You know, do you get it?
Yeah.
But no, like, you know, I know who I am, and nobody, and that's what I've learned. Like, it's people's, because I've been there as well. I know that when you're in a negative space, everybody else who's not feels like a fraud.
Acha.
Like, in the sense ke, oh, like, either they're like a fraud, or either they're like, oh, unki life mein unke liye bada आसान hai. Right? Like, unke circumstances बहुत perfect है. So basically you tend to, because you don't want to blame yourself for the way that you're feeling, right? So it's projection. It's always projection. And people's projections and perceptions of you should not be taken very seriously. You do you.
How did you do this then? How did you come out of this?
Yeah, I think I just sort of spent a lot of time inward, took that break and that space. I knew that I needed time to reflect and be with myself. And basically, एक होता है ना कि ground up अपने ऊपर work करना. A lot of, for me personally, journaling helps a lot. Writing my thoughts down, rewiring my brain, lots and lots of prayers, lots and lots of, I think it for me, I knew that this was a situation that I have to get out of myself, because जब तक मेरा internal monologue, मेरा अपना narrative नहीं बदलेगा कि नहीं खैर है, get your confidence back, you can be confident, you can still do this, तब तक वो नहीं होगा. So I had to really change the way that I think about my life. So I think some of the things that I always use is gratitude lists. I've used a lot. Just sit down every day, write all the things that I'm grateful for, start filling my cup and start looking at the, you know, bright side of things. बिल्कुल outwards छोड़ दें, inwards just becoming, and by inwards I mean like, oh, daily life में जो आपकी smaller things होती हैं, to maybe that things that make you happy, things that make you laugh, living a better life on the daily without worrying about कि अच्छा मैं external कितना productive हो रही हूँ या क्या हो रही हूँ. I also started working on some passion projects कि अच्छा हमने इस चीज़ को छोड़ दो. What else are you passionate about in life, or what else can you do in life, or how would you recover from this? So I think some of the positive thoughts that came out of this was कि I realized कि मेरे साथ और भी बहुत major incidents हुए थे at that time, and उस वक्त I realized, and I was basically made to say something that I didn't want to say, like a lot, and दोनों situations में two things happened जिसमें my truth was taken away from me.
Okay.
Yeah, and so at that time, like उस वक्त मैंने, I think I realized the actual importance of you know, my voice and of the truth, and I never wanted to be in that position again, and actually that in a way kind of led to the podcast as well, where then I wanted to give a lot of women a platform to just speak. Because I thought कि औरतों की voice बहुत missing है और बहुत कम है. That's why I came up with the, you know, औरतों की podcast and everything. Also because my team really pushed me कि आप करें, है ही नहीं औरतों के लिए. So I was like, ठीक है. This was a thought in my head, and then I ended up doing it. And I think that kind of, it really humbled me down. As well कि अच्छा, and I got to, क्योंकि मैं इतने सालों से एक चीज़ कर रही थी फिर वो एक break सा आ गया, because I, you know, went back and looked back, so I reevaluated the way I do things as well. So yeah.
So it all turned out for the better.
I guess. Trauma to hai, but yeah, I guess it turned out for the better because I've learned a lot and I'm much stronger, I feel now. Mujhe like, and I also feel like I used to take, you know what, like I now refuse to be put on a pedestal that doesn't exist. So what people did with me, and I won't say jaan ke unhone kiya isna, but what people tend to do is that they say, oh my god, you're like, I was an Insta queen or whatever and everything, and you know, itna mera content tha and I used to get a lot of appreciation for it. And I realized कि people put you on a pedestal, like वो आपको इतना perfect बना देते हैं कि you are not actually that perfect. They forget that you are a human who is capable of making mistakes. And that is something I learned, that I will never let the public think of me as this perfect person, because I am not.
How do you do that? How do you keep telling them that I am not this perfect person?
I mean, I try to be, I think मैं पहले भी थी, but I try to be a lot more sort of real now, you know, because I was like, okay, maybe I wasn't real enough, you know.
So maybe more insights into your life and what's going on, something like that?
No, as in show all kinds of sides of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
ठीक है. And you also mentioned you worked on some passion projects when you were on a break. वो क्या थे?
Yeah, so basically I have another e-commerce business, उसके ऊपर मैंने काम किया. It's called Homage, जिसमें हम basically और ये भी काफ़ी अरसे से मेरे दिमाग में चल रहा था. I never got the time to work on it. So इसमें basically हम पाकिस्तान में जो आर्टिसान्स हैं, जो क्राफ्ट्समैनशिप करते हैं, उनको एक प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड करते हैं टू सेल देयर स्टफ़.
I didn't know about this. ये कब से है?
ये 2021 में स्टार्ट हुआ था.
अच्छा.
हाँ.
How is it still ongoing?
It's ongoing, but it's not something that's very big right now. वो बस पीछे sort of चल रहा है. हाँ.
ठीक, that's very interesting.
और वो उसमें भी इसलिए इतना टाइम लग रहा है because I want to do it like properly, you know, like really see कि अच्छा हम किसको करना चाह रहे हैं. जिस तरह हमारी जो we like for example we have these cushions जो एक औरत knit करती है and she basically उसके her feet don't work, her legs, so basically उसको financially support हो जाती है because she makes them and then we sell them because she doesn't have the online presence to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So she's able to like support herself. तो इस तरह की चीज़ें हैं उसके अंदर.
Pretty interesting. और ये platform खुद से बनाया हुआ है like
yeah.
अच्छा. Oh.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
It's called Homage.
OMA?
UMASH.
Oh, UMASH. Homage. Okay.
Yeah.
ठीक है. Wow. Okay. Something new I learned.
Yeah, and then obviously उस वक्त I started the podcast as well. That is also included in the same. And I was pregnant also, by the way.
When you started both of these things?
When I got pregnant when all of this was happening. So I was pregnant when I had the whole social media troll thing going on. तब मैं pregnant थी. I had just gotten pregnant at that time. फिर उसके बाद मैंने passion projects also include because I was pregnant and I knew कि अच्छा मेरा baby होने वाला है 9 months में. So I knew that if I had to keep things rolling, my social media rolling and things rolling, I needed a team. So then that was the first, that was when I hired my first team member, an editor. Then I hired a content associate. पहले वो मेरे घर पे आके मेरे साथ काम करते थे. And then I made this office. So मैंने खुद ही सारा office बनाया. मुज़म्मिल was working at that time somewhere. और मैंने फिर टीम बनाना शुरू की. फिर मैंने podcast start की, Homage start किया. And yeah.
Acha, so you built the team and you built the office.
Yes, I built the office.
Oh, okay. While you were pregnant.
While I was pregnant, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I needed to because I was like, acha. And also because, like I said, I had been through the whole thing and I knew कि I had to, like you said ना, how did I come out of it? I knew कि अगर मैं बिल्कुल छोड़ के बैठ जाऊँगी ना तो नहीं होगा. You have to do some level of showing up before it becomes normal कि अच्छा ठीक है. You know. Yeah.
And how long do you think it took you to come out of that? Maybe 80% वो confidence वापस आ गया कैमरे के आगे बात करने का.
I think 6 months तो लगे, 4 to 6 months at least.
अच्छा.
हाँ, but उसके बाद मेरा baby हो गया, so then that's another story, which I
wanna
think
hear
we
that
will get
story.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah.
Being caught up in so many different things.
Yeah.
And having your first child.
Yeah.
And then continuing. चीज़ें छूट जाती ना आपसे जब अब तो बच्चा हो गया, अब तो लाइफ चेंज होगी, एवरीथिंग इज अराउंड माई चाइल्ड, विच आई थिंक इट इज़, बट स्टिल यू आर फाइंडिंग टाइम फॉर एवरीथिंग एल्स एंड यू स्टिल प्रोग्रेसिंग, आई फील. तो व्हाट वाज दैट जर्नी लाइक?
यार सी, अब आई थिंक मैंने एक बहुत बड़ा गोल अचीव कर लिया था अपनी लाइफ में जब मैं प्रेग्नेंट हुई थी, और मेरी लाइफ का एक्चुअली गोल था वे बिफोर आई गॉट प्रेग्नेंट कि मैं जब मेरा बच्चा होगा ना उससे पहले तक मैंने एक ऑफिस और एक टीम बनानी है.
अच्छा.
तो वो मैंने कर लिया. I did it, ठीक है, before the baby came. और मैंने पॉडकास्ट भी स्टार्ट कर दिया. आई रिमेंबर 2 मार्च को राफेल हुआ है, माई बेबी, एंड उस वक्त 2 मार्च को मैंने अपनी आखिरी पॉडकास्ट रिकॉर्ड की थी ऑफ दैट सीजन, और वो उसी दिन हुआ था. सो आई वॉज वर्किंग टिल द लास्ट डे. या सो वो हुआ. एंड यू नो लाइक इट्स फनी बिकॉज आई had always planned कि I will take like a break from work and I will focus fully on my child. I won't get help for my child. I was that person कि मैंने ना fully motherhood करना है. But I think I had been working for so many years and I was so invested in my work कि well, actually it was not my reality anymore. It couldn't have been. So I had the baby and then obviously postpartum and everything happened. The good thing was, team thi, they managed a lot for me. I didn't have to, do everything by myself anymore. But yeah, obviously I had to do a few things myself. So शुरू में I think मैंने इतना ज़्यादा लंबा break नहीं लिया. I think 25 or 28 days I think बाद I was back to work. उसके बीच में मैं बीच में आती थी. I was back to work and और उस टाइम पे I used to bring my baby to work with me क्योंकि मेरे पास it was too soon for me to hire help. मैंने कोई हेल्प नहीं रखी उस टाइम पे. सो आई यूज्ड टू bring him with me. और मैं यहाँ ऑफिस में ना क्रिब रखती थी. आई थिंक दैट्स अ गुड थिंग अबाउट हैविंग योर ओन वर्क. क्रिब रखती थी, वो क्रिब में बैठता था एंड देन सोता था एंड आई यूज्ड टू डू माई वर्क इन द ऑफिस. But you know what I realized about this motherhood thing and working mom thing, that physically while physically it's challenging as well, the amount of physical work it requires, especially when you're breastfeeding and everything, it's the mental load is a lot more. So there's a lot of emotions involved and a lot of and your life changes so much from someone who was so on her toes all the time, knew what she had to do, had been running businesses, had been, working for so many years, then life suddenly changing and all your circumstances being out of your control. Noroze, the day you become a mom, nothing is in your control. Not one aspect of your life. And I think that is such a big challenge because आपकी life का किसी भी आपके लाइफ के हिस्से पे आपकी मर्जी नहीं होती. Because there's this child who has to be fed, who has to nap, who is always napping and always feeding, right? Mm-hmm. And you are just working around their clock. So your life is very much in increments. अच्छा, आपको बीच में आधा घंटा मिले, अब आपने इसी में करना है. तो मेरी लाइफ लिटरली ऐसी होती थी. अच्छा, feed, and I was also exclusively pumping. That's another thing, but it's very hard and very complicated. Okay, so I used to feed, I used to exclusively pump, then I used to put him down for a nap, then I had 25 or half an hour to work. उसमें मैं काम करती थी और फिर मेरी यही cycle पूरा दिन चलती थी. And I did that for at least for 7 months. और फिर 7 months पे जाके I hired a full-time nanny to help me with the child. But it's a huge challenge because it's not just कि आपको time इसका इस तरह होता है, but आपका mentally your mom guilt is so strong, and you're going through postpartum. So basically what happens, I think my biggest challenge, if I would say, with motherhood was, जो हमेशा कहती हूँ, was an identity crisis. Do you know anything about that?
A bit,
Yeah.
not much.
Yeah. So it was an identity crisis where I just did not know who I was besides being a mother. So मुझे motherhood समझ आती थी, which is so strange. Something I've never done in my life. Everything else I've been doing for so long. मुझसे काम नहीं होता था. And I used to come to work and I used to be like, I was lost. It's like I've never done any of this before. My brain wouldn't work. Brain fog. आधी बातें समझ ही नहीं आ रही. रोज़ मीटिंग्स में बैठी हुई हूँ, सेंटेंसेस ही नहीं पूरे फॉर्म हो रहे. मेरी अगर दिमाग में एक थॉट है, सेंटेंस ही नहीं कंस्ट्रक्ट हो रहा, कोई बात नहीं, दूसरों की बात कॉम्प्रहेंड नहीं हो रही. एंड दैट्स बिकॉज आफ्टर यू बिकम अ मदर, योर माइंड गोज़ थ्रू, योर ब्रेन फिजिकली गोज़ थ्रू चेंजेस वेयर it's called mom brain, where you can't focus or concentrate on basic tasks. You can't communicate. And for me, that was the biggest challenge, because that is something I always knew how to do and suddenly I didn't. So it was a huge personality shift कि meetings भी नहीं होती मुझसे, काम भी नहीं होता मुझसे. I don't know who I am anymore. And it's a thing, it's a real thing that people don't talk about enough, that your brain does not work. And apparently it's an evolutionary thing that your brain allows you to focus on your child.
Your baby and बाकी चीज़ों के बारे में automatically switch off हुआ हुआ होता है.
And also you are so sleep deprived, Noroze.
Of course,
So I feel like that was a huge challenge. And so, but वही होता था, I showed up every day and I tried my hardest कि अच्छा जो मैं कर सकूँ मैं करूँ. And I think it's that sort of, but मुझे ये भी होता था कि Noroze, there were times when I wanted to just give up and that I can't do this. But I also used to feel like the only thing that would maybe help me feel a little bit better would be कि अच्छा यार मेरे पास life में इसके अलावा भी कुछ है that I do for myself. And doing some work and then returning to my baby has always helped me be a better mom, because being a mother is so much work and it's mentally so okay, you get drained by the end of it. But when you take a little break and you go and do something else, and when you return to the child, you are much more sorted to be a mother at that point, you know. So yeah, I was like, no. And plus I had so many dreams. I was like, I'm not giving up on my dreams, you know, I'm gonna do this. And plus I feel like my mom, I've always seen my mom being a working mother. So I think aapka jo normally whatever you're conditioned to, you tend to do that, find that doing that you find more easy. So if you've always had a mom who has been, you know, a stay-at-home mom, so that's more normal for you. So you will find it more comfortable to stay in that zone, no matter how much you have unlearned that for yourself. It'll pull you in. But what's normal to you, for me, it was normal to always work. So I just was able to like push myself into coming back and working. And I think I've learned that life slows down when you have a child. Having that expectation from yourself, the same one, is not fair. But also thinking that your life is over after a child comes, that's not true. You have to, like, either you accept that this is what I want to do and then accept it wholeheartedly कि मैंने अब सिर्फ यही करना है, stay at home mom बनना है और ये करना है और फिर complain नहीं करना, right? Like, I've made this decision and I'm going to try my best to do it. But if you're gonna complain about it, then I do think अपने लिए कुछ ना कुछ तो ढूंढें. And that's not just work, because I know not everybody has the privilege कि वो बच्चे को छोड़ के चली जाए किसी के पास. But अपने लिए कुछ ना कुछ तो कर लें, बेशक लैपटॉप पे कर लें या घर में कुछ कर लें. It's important for you as a human being, and then obviously as a mother as well, to just be sorted mentally and physically and emotionally.
Okay, so now that you think about it, you reflect back, do you think you came back a bit too early? 21-28 दिन बाद you came back to work and you were trying to manage the baby and all. Do you think if you would give advice to maybe your own self, would you tell that Humna के थोड़ा और रुक जाओ, कि do you think नहीं सही था?
मैं बड़ी कन्फ्लिक्टेड हूँ इसमें. कभी कभार मुझे लगता है कि a lot of it is, you know, out of fear, क्योंकि आपने बहुत सारी औरतों को इस तरह देख लिया होता है कि, you know, when they became a mother, then they left everything and they weren't able to come back to work. And I think on some level, it was that fear that made me come back, you know. And now I just feel like maybe it wasn't necessary. Like I could have not freaked out so much and just relaxed a little bit, because it's not like, you know, when I came back to work, I was able to perform at my 100%. Like I said, कि दिमाग नहीं चल रहा था, and maybe I could have given myself a little bit of that space. लेकिन जब मैं ये भी सोचती हूँ कि मैंने ये किया, तो मैं ये भी कहती हूँ कि हाँ, लेकिन अगर मैं 1 साल बाद आई होती या 2 साल बाद आई होती, तो वही दिमाग को जंग तो लगा हुआ होता. And then I would have had to start. Like now I'm at this point कि अच्छा मैंने बेशक baby steps ही लिए, लेकिन I think मैंने steps लिए तो सही. I feel like it was okay that I came back, but I think it was not okay that I was so what I was internally feeling wasn't okay. So I was internally feeling like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm never going to be able to catch up. So it's okay that I came back, but I wish कि जो मैं baby steps ले रही थी ना, मैं उसमें अपने आप को इतना torture ना करती कि ये सब इतना slow क्यों हो गया है. Right? So you come back when you feel like you want to come back, whether that's early, but then you relax about it. It's the same way जैसे मैंने बोला कि if you decide to be a stay-at-home mom, like I think acceptance is the huge thing about being motherhood. So if you decide to be a stay-at-home mom, accept it, that this is who I am, and then don't let that noise destroy that thing for you. Be a stay-at-home mother and embrace it. This is who I am and this is what I do. Don't let that noise कि अच्छा productivity and, you know, बाकी औरतें and financial independence और ये सारी चीज़ें. But, and then if you are coming back as a working woman, also accept that you are a mother now. Accept that life has changed. Accept the fact that you can't do things at the same pace. Accept the fact that, oh, things now, so many circumstances are not under my control anymore and I have to work around those, right? And होता ना कि अपने आप को एक grace दे देना. It's okay. कोई train नहीं छूट जाएगी. तो वो जो torture that I did to myself in that time, that wasn't fair. Coming back to work, okay, fair. Torturing myself during that work, getting frustrated with not being able to perform the same way I used to, getting frustrated that, oh my God, now I have to leave this and go pump for my baby or feed my baby or nap my baby. No. Then if you have to go back to work, accept it as well. That, you know, things are not going to be the same. Because nobody else will understand what you're going through internally. And the best thing you can do for yourself is accept your situation and embrace it. And agar nahi hota, it's always okay to take a step back and take your time. And I you know, chose my stuff, Noroze. Things I decided to do and things I didn't do. Like, for example, let's come to, you know, my journey with my body image. I am actually very happy about the fact that I didn't bounce back in terms of, you know, my fitness or the way that I looked. I took my time with that, even though that's been a very tough journey. But
So why do you think that taking your time with that was good? Like it was less stressful than something else?
Yeah, I just feel like अगर मैं उसकी में भी खा रही होती तो क्या होता फिर मेरे साथ?
बहुत ज़्यादा खपे हो जाती.
Yeah, although I would say कि हाँ, body image ठीक है, मोटी हो गई थी बहुत ज़्यादा. That affected me and my work as well. But it's not something I was ready to solve. And उसमें भी मैंने work किया, and I really want to talk about this. I had never experienced body image issues before. Okay? So after I had a baby, I almost lost all the weight. I didn't even gain a lot of weight in my pregnancy. Towards the end, I did, of course, but not that much. So I had the baby, I lost a lot of weight. I was breastfeeding as well. Weight lose ho gaya. It was when the whole mental thing with the whole identity and the mom brain started was when I became very, very, I don't know if depressed is the word, but I was not doing well mentally. And because of that, I started resorting to food. So I did a lot of emotional eating. So it would be like, oh, काम पे stress हो रहा है, अब जाके कुछ खा लो, make you feel better. बच्चा तंग कर रहा है. पूरे दिन के बाद जब मैं खप जाती थी ना, और मैं थक के जब अपने बेटे को सुलाती थी, उसके बाद जब मैं आती थी तो I would be like, now I need to eat something, you know, and then I would binge on the worst kind of food, KFC and McDonald's, and I would go to sleep. You know, it's like 12 baje, like it's the worst combination. Okay? And it was regular. So you can imagine how unhealthy that was. And I gained so much weight, I think 8-9 months after pregnancy. Not in pregnancy, not right after pregnancy, baad mein mera weight gain hua. And that's when like I started looking at myself in my videos and in my, you know, in the camera, and I was like, oh my God, like what happened there? And this was the first time I had experienced a body image issue कि पहले तो मैंने कभी सोचा ही नहीं था कि, you know, how that feels. And it was just like, oh, I don't feel so good in the way that I look. I don't like to look at myself in the mirror. Like I would go up, you know, to my closet every day in the morning and I wouldn't know what to wear. 10 कपड़े निकाल के कुछ भी अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा. And then I remember, obviously फिर आपकी confidence और self-esteem बिल्कुल ख़त्म हो जाती है ना. And then I was again in that phase where showing up on the camera just felt like absolute torture कि यार क्या है ये, क्या बकवास है, I look so bad. I remember मैं shoots पे होती थी, मेरी आंखों में आंसू आए हुए होते थे because I just didn't like the way that I looked. And now when I talk about it, I feel so bad for thinking like that about myself, you know, but it's the truth. I did feel like this. I can't deny, oh my God, no, I accepted myself. I didn't. I didn't at that time. I was not happy. And then, and I also saw a lot of people who were happy, no matter how they looked. Right? उनको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ा. So
were they really happy?
I don't know, but that's how it appeared. Maybe a lot of people thought I was the same too, right? खैर फिर मैंने जो है क्या किया कि फिर मुझे एक दिन रियलाइजेशन हुई, बड़ा मुझे दुख हुआ, दिल में दुख हुआ कि हम ना why do you think of yourself this way and why do you think about your body this way, like that is just so bad, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna work on it and I'm gonna start like working out. And I used to hate the way that I looked in the mirror. I was like, अब मैं workout करूँगी और ठीक करूँगी. But इसमें मुझे बहुत बड़ी flaw नज़र आई. वो ये थी कि I decided or made that decision to change my body because I hated it. And I thought that's not the right way to go about this. So I was like, no, first, and I know nobody thinks like this, but I was like, no, first I'm going to love myself like this and then I'm going to change my body. So the idea was that I'm going to find it in me to love my body enough to take care of it, which would include making it fitter, eating better, rather than hating my body and trying to change the way it looks. और मुझे इस बात की realization ज़्यादा इससे हुई that I started going for yoga. And when I went to yoga ना, तो yoga के end में they do meditation, Shavasana, जिसमें वो आपका body scan कराते हैं and you think about each part of your body. So उसमें I used to thank all of my body parts as well. और उसमें ना मुझे रोना आ जाता था because I realized that I had actually been very mean to my body, where I was like, oh, it looks so bad, completely forgetting about what it does for me. So, and that's when I realized, oh, body positivity is not just about accepting the way that your body looks. It's about having a positive relationship with your body. I realized that my relationship with my body was damaged. I hated it when I needed to love it more than ever because of the fact that it had given birth. So then I started thanking my uterus every day for giving birth. You know, I started thanking my breasts for feeding my child. I started thanking my legs and my arms for walking and rocking my child, you know. And it used to bring tears into my eyes because I had completely shifted the narrative around my body and myself from the way that it looked to what it does. And then it became overall like I can see, I can smell, I can hear, I can talk, I can walk, I can run, I can climb. All the work that I do, it's because of this body that I continue to shame when I look in the mirror. So I started to work on my relationship with my body, and it was when I realized that, okay, I worked on it for a while, and then when I realized now I'm ready to make it better in the way that it's looked, after accepting it for everything and loving it for what it does for me. So I did not want to hate my body into changing it, right? So do you get what I'm saying? I wanted to love my body into changing it. Okay, oh my God, my body is so precious. I need to take care of it better. So I need to exercise because it needs to be taken care of because I need to be fit, because I have a child, I have so many things to do. I've been giving it such bad food, but my body does so much for me. It doesn't deserve the bad food. So it was a change in my self-worth, you know, कि अच्छा नहीं, अब इस body को जिसने मेरे लिए इतना कुछ किया, I'm going to feed it better and I'm going to treat it better. And that's when I decided, okay, now I'm ready to work out. So then I started eating better and started working out. You know, I talked to you so many times before about it, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready mentally.
Wow, that's a very, I think, sustainable way of looking at
Yes.
it. But now when you have this hate and you like, when you just can't look at yourself in the mirror, कि इसको change करना है, बस change करना है, and then when you get fit, but somewhere along the line you gain weight back, वो फिर एक cycle में आप फंसे हुए हो.
Yes.
But when you look at it this way, छोटी छोटी चीज़ों के बारे में हम अगर शुक्र अदा करें, एंड यू नो लाइक हमें अगर छोटी सी कोई चोट लग जाए, यहाँ पे उंगली में चोट लग जाए, एंड रियलाइज़ कि यार हम इस उंगली को कितनी चीज़ों में यूज़ करते हैं जो हम कर नहीं पा रहे, दैट्स व्हेन रियलाइज़ कि ओ अच्छा यार.
Yeah.
बट यू started doing that proactively.
Yes.
And then, so how long did you do that after which?
It was last July that I started yoga and working on my relationship with my body. And then मैंने workout actively start किया जाके Feb में. January के end में, हाँ, Feb में.
So more than 6 months?
Yes, I gave myself.
Wow.
To change my relationship with my body first and then change it the way that it looks. It's like having a friend, Noroze. Like if your friend becomes fat today, right? Do you change the way that you think about them? No, right?
Yeah.
Right? But when you care about a friend, right, you would want them to be better in their life. चलो friend छोड़ो, spouse की बात करते हैं या बच्चे की बात करते हैं, ठीक है? आपका बच्चा है, you care about your child. You will feed them the right thing, right? And you will make sure that they do the right things. They get the right amount of physical activity. उनकी आप academics, हर चीज़ को वो करोगे because you love them. Not because you hate them. Right? And you love your children beyond the way that they look. Same for the body. It's a relationship. So I wanted to love my body beyond the way that it looked. And that's why I went through this entire thing.
Wow. That's really insightful. Because pata how I can relate to this? कि for me, like I get into very good shape. उसमें मैंने videos बना ली, pictures बना ली, लोगों को लग रहा है कि अच्छा यही ही है इसकी physique. अब उससे जब थोड़ा सा right left होता है ना, तो आई स्टार्ट टू थिंक ये क्या कर लिया तूने अपने आप के साथ, और यार ये तो फारिग लग रहे हो और ये वो, बट दैट्स नॉट द राइट वे टू लुक एट इट. यू हैव टू बी, इट्स लाइक व्हाट यू सेड ना, कि यू हैव टू लुक एट इट फ्रॉम अ लाइक wider lens. हाँ, पीछे होके step back and then take a look at it from a wider lens कि you're taking care of your body, you're working out, खाना आप अच्छा खा रहे हो. सिर्फ पतला होना गोल नहीं है, सिर्फ ripped होना गोल नहीं है, बहुत ज़्यादा और चीज़ें भी हैं.
और goals हैं, yeah. Especially like I feel like my relationship with sugar changed not because of weight. My relationship with sugar changed because I know sugar is really bad, right? And now I feel like हाँ मैं कभी कभार ले लेती हूँ, but it has, my relationship with sugar has changed. I don't want it because I know it's bad. तो मैं लेती हूँ taste के लिए, उसके लिए, but you know. Yeah.
मेरे साथ भी ऐसा similar कुछ हुआ है. So this started this year. That पहले ये होता था कि oh I can have sugary stuff या I can even have this fried food क्योंकि मुझे पता है I can fit it in my calories, मुझे आता है करना, फ़र्क नहीं पड़ेगा, मैं ऐसे ही रहूँगा, कैलोरीज में फिट कर लिया. बट नाउ आई थिंक यार तू कैलोरीज में फिट कर लेगा, बट ब्रो वो जो चीज़ें हैं तुम्हारे अंदर जा रही, दे नॉट गुड फॉर यू. इतने ज़्यादा ट्रांस फैट, इतना ज़्यादा वो, एंड ये व्हेन यू सी पीपल अराउंड यू, किसी का अर्ली एज में फैटी लिवर निकल आया, किसी का वो हो गया, कोलेस्ट्रॉल इशूज़. सो देन यू स्टार्ट टू थिंक कि अच्छा ये जो छोटी छोटी चीज़ें जिनको मैं तो सिर्फ फिटनेस को इस तरह देख रहा हूँ कि हाँ स्टे इन शेप यार, KFC खा के भी यू कैन स्टे इन शेप, जस्ट मैनेज योर कैलोरीज, बट इट्स मच मोर देन दैट.
इट्स मोर देन दैट. और पता है इस चीज़ की रियलाइजेशन तब भी होती है कि व्हेन यू एक्चुअली स्टॉप कंज्यूमिंग दीज थिंग्स एंड यू फील द डिफरेंस इन योर एनर्जी.
यस.
You feel less bloated, you feel so light. And it's not just कि weight lose हुआ है, but you feel energized because the food you're, and it's not like मैं कोई इस तरह की नहीं हूँ कि मैं बहुत healthy food खाती हूँ, मैं normal food खाती हूँ. I'm not a proponent of like restricting certain foods because मुझे ये भी लगता है कि weight loss के चक्कर में आपको अपना खाने के साथ relationship destroy नहीं करना चाहिए, because वो unsustainable है. But at least be conscious about it कि अच्छा अच्छी चीज़ें खा रहे हैं. और वही बात है ना, जब रिलेशनशिप चेंज हो गई है ना, तो वो इतना रिस्ट्रिक्टिव फील ही नहीं होता. वो होता है कि बस अच्छा I used a positive affirmation a lot in this time. Every morning I used to get up and I used to write in my journal, I make healthy choices.
अच्छा.
So तब मैंने decide कर लिया, I'm the kind of person, it's like fake it till you make it. I make healthy choices. And then you spend your day with that thought in your head that you make healthy choices. So whenever I was presented with the choice of being healthy or unhealthy, I would try to make the healthy one.
Acha.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Lekin I can totally relate to this because maybe I think we're like maturing over time, looking things at a different way. तो मेरा भी इस तरह है कि पहले इस तरह होता था कि I get on a diet and जब जिस दिन डाइट ख़त्म हुई मैं कहता था आज तो मैं ये भी खाऊंगा वो भी खाऊंगा. Now it's like कि यार bro chill यार, मतलब कि हाँ ठीक है, but in the long run those things like they're bad for you in the long run. तो just chill, have थोड़ा बहुत ये खा लो, थोड़ा बहुत वो खा लो. पहले होता था कि यार इस दिन तो मैंने चीट करना ही है और आज मैं KFC खाऊंगा, आज मैं मैकडॉनल्ड्स खाऊंगा. Now I'm like कि हाँ थोड़े से कुछ फ्राइज फ्राइज खा लेते, कोई नहीं खैर है, चिलेंगे. Easy सीन है यार, क्या हो गया?
Easy, yeah. Like I want to be easy with my body. Yeah. So उसको relax. It's lovely. It's a lovely thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. तो अगर थोड़ा ऊपर हो भी जाता है कोई बात नहीं. खैर है. अगर थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे होता है, it's fine. And I do think fitness, like anything in your life, it's always going to be up and down. I know at some point again I'm gonna gain weight. It's okay. It's something I've accepted. It's fine. I will lose it. Yeah.
But maybe not. But the ups and downs fluctuations आएंगी. Maybe not that much in which you were in that mental state.
Yeah.
उतना probably ना हो. But ऊपर नीचे 3-4 kg 5 kg वो तो
हो जाता
चलता रहता है. We have to accept that.
I have to accept it.
Yeah. So what is your current workout routine like? Now we're into fitness questions. End में बस.
Current workout routine अभी तो मैंने 2 हफ्तों से छोड़ा हुआ था because I was traveling और फिर मेरे बेटे की तबीयत ख़राब हो गई तो मेरा बीच में बहुत बड़ा break आ गया. But generally it's like I work out 5 days a week. And
more than me. I do 4. Acha.
I work out 5 days a week. I do it every morning for half an hour. जिसमें मेरी 1 hour. Half an hour में strength training होती है और बाकी half an hour में it's a walk.
Okay, so you walk on a treadmill?
Yeah, on a treadmill.
Okay.
Yeah, but because with the क्या वो कहते हैं recline. Incline. Sorry, incline. But yeah. Or there's another like boosted walk that I do. जो कि आप it's a YouTube video, so you can just do it standing.
Leslie walk?
Yeah, no. Leslie, yeah. Leslie, yeah.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so I use Leslie walk and strength training or वो. Yeah, so I have a trainer who helps me. Yeah.
And what's your strength training routine like? Is it like every day full body or split हुआ है किस तरह है?
Split हुआ है.
अच्छा.
हाँ. So sometimes we're working on the lower body, sometimes we're working on upper body, sometimes we're working on the core. So it's like that.
At home?
At home.
What do you need for working out at home?
So for working out at home, I'm just using we're focusing more on increasing the reps rather than the weight because when you're at home, there's only so many weights you can buy. Yeah. So 2-3 kgs ke dumbbells and actually that's all I use and a mat. But I think some people buy other things as well.
Yeah.
So
I would advise investing in a resistance band.
My trainer said the same.
Yeah. वो बहुत versatile है. उससे आप हर चीज़ कर सकते हो. Literally every exercise, every muscle group you can hit. Especially जो आपकी back है ना, you can't really do that with dumbbells and at home. So resistance band से वो बहुत easy हो जाता है. Just you pulling and all that. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, she said as well to get it. Yeah. But I've also realized in fitness that there's just so much misconception out there that you can't, like if you have like proper weight loss goals especially, you can't do it on your own. You need like a trainer who will tell you, okay, at least that's what I think, what you should be doing. Because I don't know, because लोग बस कार्डियो करी जाते हैं. That's how I used to think before as well. Trainer के बाद मुझे समझ आई कि भाई ऐसे नहीं होता. So
I think eventually if you're consistent enough you can do it, but it's like this is your goal and you don't have a trainer, तो आप यूं जाके कहीं फिर जाके कहीं आप जाओगे फिर आपको कि ओ अच्छा ये straight line थी.
Yeah.
तो but with a trainer you मतलब it's more or less
at least line. In my case I feel like I needed a trainer बिकॉज मैंने बड़ा टाइम कार्डियो में भी लगाया एंड स्टफ. बस मुझे होता था भाग लो, काफ़ी होता है, जंपे मार लो. बट आई डोंट नो इफ इट्स ट्रू बिकॉज यू आर द फिटनेस गाय हेयर. आई थिंक दैट स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग इज लाइक pretty cool. And it makes a lot of difference. It's everything. Yeah. And it just changes the way your body looks so much.
इसीलिए बेसिकली बोला जाता है ना कि लाइक इफ यू जस्ट डू कार्डियो यू लूज वेट बट आप यूं हो जाओगे एंड यू लुक लाइक अ सिक पर्सन इफ यू लॉस्ट अ लॉट ऑफ वेट. बट इफ यू इनकॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग विद दैट यू विल लुक हेल्दी. कि हाँ यू लुक कि यू लॉस्ट वेट बट यू लुक गुड. बाकी होता है इफ यू जस्ट आप भागते रहो यू लूज वेट तो लोग आए कहते हैं यार बीमार हो गया, क्या हो गया, या क्या फूंक रहे हैं आजकल. सो दैट्स
बिकॉज यू गेन मसल राइट, यू गेन सम मसल एंड वो एक टोन सी हो जाती है. आपने अपने सारे मसल्स को अटेंशन दी है एंड जनरली आई थिंक आपका पॉस्चर भी बेहतर हो जाता है एंड एनर्जी लेवल्स, जाहिर है स्ट्रेंथ आ जाती है आपके अंदर. सो हाँ, यू नो आई वाज सो सरप्राइज रिसेंटली वी वेंट ऑन दिस ट्रिप जिसमें थोड़ा सा ऊपर स्टेप्स थे, ठीक है, एंड एवरीबडी एल्स बाय द एंड ऑफ दोज स्टेप्स वाज लाइक ओह माय गॉड एंड आई वाज जस्ट लाइक
क्या सीन है,
ठीक इतना बुरा भी नहीं था. एंड आई रियलाइज्ड आई एम फिट. That's why. And I felt so proud and so happy because again it was this realization कि हाँ मैं पतली तो हो गई हूँ but oh my god I have so much more stamina. हाँ मुझे इस walk से फ़र्क नहीं पड़ा.
Exactly. वही बात है कि you have to have practical fitness, not just look fit and look slim, but in the inside feeling like shit and not having a bad relationship with food and all that. और on the other side कुछ हमारे जो बड़े बड़े बॉडी बिल्डर्स होते हैं उनको थोड़ा सा भगाओ वो फारिग हो जाते हैं. तो you need to have that practical fitness like you said ना, कि अगर कुछ real life में कुछ करना है तो आप कर पाओ. So that's what I think, and that's also what I've started to aim for now this year after so many years of just chasing aesthetics. Now I'm like कि थोड़ा सा practical की तरफ आते हैं.
And I think Noroze because we're getting older also ना, तो अब ज़्यादा feel होता है कि higher like strength चाहिए, stamina चाहिए, life में कुछ करना है.
Exactly.
And पता है मुझे ये भी feel हुआ because I feel like, you know, when you have a child, then you also feel like, you know, I need to have more energy in my life to keep up with my child. I don't want to be like, oh no beta, I'm so tired. You know, तो वो मुझे होता है कि I want to have the energy, I want to be able to, you know, dance with my child, be a child with my child. If we go on a trip and my child wants to run, then I can also run. You know, because our parents would be like, नहीं हम थक गए. वो मैं I don't want to be that. So मुझे उससे भी थोड़ी motivation आती है.
That's good. So Humna, I have a final question for you. That after going through this entire journey of and different dips in your you could say self-development, self-confidence, इतने साल गुजर गए, what would you tell that Humna? मैं अपनी मैथ्स मेरी जंग लग गया, but when you were 17, when you had just lost your father and your whole world has just changed, what would you tell that Humna now after going through everything and being where you are right now?
Yeah, I think it will be okay because उस वक्त मुझे लग रहा था कि ख़त्म हो गई है दुनिया, you know, and I just kind of like how will like उस वक्त तो आपको होता है ना, how will you ever live your life without this person, and how will you like बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी, how will you know like my relationship with my mother because it was always stronger with my father. तो अब्बू के जाने के बाद I became so much more rebellious with my mother. And but I have such a stellar relationship with my mom now, you know, so all of these little things, like it'll be okay, you will be happy and you will get somewhere in life, you know, you just have to live. Just God has you, you know, he's gonna make it okay. And I think because of everything that has happened ever since Abu's death and everything, I have this unwavering faith in the fact that Allah is always on my side. And I just know that even when the bad things happen to me, it's fine because it is good for me in some way. Even if I'm unable to find that, but I know because I think time and again Allah has proven this to me so much. Oh, this was also good for you, and this was also good for you, and I did this for you, and I did that for you, and everything that I had always thought for myself or imagined for myself, Allah gave me much better, in return.
Right.
So I would just tell that 17-year-old girl that Allah's on your side and things will be okay over time.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
And I would also tell her that, listen, like, no matter what, don't doubt yourself. That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've had too many times where I have, doubted my own self and had, struggled with self-esteem and confidence. And I have realized the value of self-love and self-acceptance, whether it's in terms of your body or just who you are as a person. So I would just tell her not to feel shame or guilt in accepting yourself for who you are and just giving yourself love. Because when I realize that when I do that, I become better.
Right. I think I need to learn from that as well. I'm too hard on myself.
It's the same thing with the body, Noroze. The more I shamed and guilted myself in it, the more I used to feel bad, the more I used to eat. And it's the same in everything. Like, you get stuck in this cycle of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the moment you start loving and accepting yourself, you start making this better decisions for yourself. Yeah.
I think that's a whole journey of loving yourself.
It's a whole journey. And
ऐसे नहीं होना. बैठे नहीं होता.
Yeah. मैंने बड़े मुश्किल से किया ये. If somebody has to ask me, मैंने बहुत मेहनत की, and I've done it all, Noroze. I've done from like yoga to, positive affirmations, to journaling, to, everything that you can see in the book I've done. And I've worked very hard on my mental health and now my physical health, first mental and then physical, to come out of, my phases of self-doubt and self-esteem जो मैंने पिछले 2-3 साल में experience किए हैं.
Well, I'm really happy that you are out of that now.
Yes.
Yes. Well, this was great, Humna. I think we had a great conversation. I learned a lot. I hope these guys did as well. So with that, we'll be wrapping up this episode, guys. Thank you so much. If you had followed this episode till the end, thank you so much for staying. And once again, feel free to subscribe to this channel if you like the content. If you don't like it, just let me know in the comments कि क्या नहीं पसंद आया, and we'll try to change that. So that's it from my side, guys, and from Humna's side. We will see you all in the next episode. तब तक के लिए Allah Hafiz. This is NSJD signing out.